Solomon said, I tried that stuff. I tried. Heart is mirth, and let me see what's. I can't understand what they're enjoying. Let me go try it. And guess what? Solomon said, turns out there's just nothing there. There's nothing to it. He said, I made me great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I don't know if you have the same sickness I do. I don't like enjoying something unless I own it. When I go to the beach, I want to buy the beach. I'm just telling you, this is the way I think. If I fly on an airplane, I want to buy an airplane. If I ride on a boat, I want to buy a boat. My wife knows this. She'll tell you. It's just the way that I am. Just want to, I want to get one of those. And I've never gotten one of those that I didn't get bored of anything. This is just the truth of the matter. It's like, we have in our hearts, oh man, I wish I had that, or I'd like to have that. And then you get it, and I've never had a beach, by the way. I've never owned a beach, but I might get one sometime. And I'll get bored with it, I promise you that, or get tired of taking care of it. Solomon said, I made me great works. I built me houses. I planted me vineyards. Verse 5, I made me gardens and orchards, and I planted trees in them of all kind of fruits. Now let me ask you a question. How much time does it take to do some of these things? Well, unless you're Solomon, it takes a long time. But Solomon, he wanted to get it done. He had the resources to do it. And he could make it happen in short order. He said, I made me pools of water to water therewith the wood that bringeth forth trees. I developed some forestry. In other words, he's talking about high-tech developments. He didn't just plant a forest. He planted the best forest with pools of water to water. Like he developed, he did things that were amazing. He said, I got me servants and maidens and had servants born in my house. Also, I had great possessions of great and small cattle above all that were in Jerusalem before me. I gathered me also silver and gold and the peculiar treasure of kings and of the provinces. I got me men singers and women singers and the delights of the sons of men as musical instruments and that of all sorts. And he says that of all sorts. You notice this? So Solomon's like, man, I really like the sound of that instrument. So he just got the person that played the instrument. I really like that musical group. So he just got the group. And you buy the CD. Solomon bought the band. Just here, I want this style. I want this, just had them. Kept them on tap, I don't know if he had like a carousel. He could roll them by on a balcony and, press a button and change the band. But he got live singers. Had them, owned them. You just think on whatever you think you've done, Solomon was on another level. He was on another level of anyone that's ever lived. And he said in verse 10, or verse 9, so I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. He said, so I didn't just accomplish something and then go like Pastor Price where you lost your mind. I still had my wisdom. He said, and whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy. For my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. He said, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy anything. I'm not saying that there wasn't anything that I desired and my desire was fulfilled in. Friend, a practical question which could be asked of just about anybody would be, have you ever had a desire and had the desire fulfilled? And what Solomon is saying here is like it hit the happy button for me. But the problem is that there is no one-time elixir. There's no one-time thing that I'm happy now, so therefore I'm happy forever. It's a reality. He said in verse 11, then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. You know what happens when you get everything, you accomplish everything, nothing is withheld from you? You know what ultimately happens is you realize these things happening is not the measure of my joy, my happiness, my success, or my failure. These things, whether they be accomplishments, whether they be possessions, whether they be experiences, those things cannot give you a grip on satisfaction, fulfillment, or anything in a permanent way. He said, I turned myself to behold wisdom and madness and folly. So now he says, so I started thinking about it. I started just thinking about what's life about. For what can the man do that cometh after the king? Even that which hath been already done. Can you imagine coming after Solomon and trying to accomplish something? That'd be like coming after Michael Jordan and trying to be the greatest NBA player. You know? If you're a basketball person, you know, you'd know what I'm saying. There's nobody that's ever going to come along and do anything other than the things that Jordan already did. You know? And that's just the way it's always going to be seen, no matter what. What are you going to do after King Solomon? You going to be the richest man in the world? Well, Solomon was the richest man in the world. He's also the smartest man in the world. You going to be the smartest man in the world? Well, Solomon is the smartest man in the world, the richest man in the world, most philosophical person in the world, most successful person in the world. Nobody, you can't do anything that Solomon hadn't already done. Now listen to me here this evening. If you think that in my life experience and your life experience that either of us could somehow eclipse Solomon or figure out something he couldn't figure out with the brain that God gave him, the ability and opportunity that God gave him, my friend, it can't be done. And here is Solomon in a very kind way urging us to pay attention to the things I'm about to tell you, because you're not going to discover something different than I already had. He said in verse 13, I saw that wisdom excelleth folly, as far as light exceedeth darkness. Here's why. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walketh in darkness. And I myself perceived also that one event happened to them all. Then said I in my heart, as it happened to the fool, so it happeneth even to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart that this also is vanity. You know, the Scripture says that it rains on the just as well as the unjust, and that's true. You know, wise men are born and foolish men are born, and wise men die and foolish men die. There are individuals that try to push off or delay the inevitable or think that the inevitable will not happen to them. Sometime for your amusement, this doesn't sound like an amusing thing to do, but hear the whole sentence. Sometime for your amusement, listen to people at someone's passing when they hear that someone they know has died. And Robbie's got a lot of experience with this because he's worked in a funeral home. You know what everybody wants to know when someone dies? They want to know. It's not polite to ask. They want to know what happened. You know why they want to know what happened? Because they want to believe it could never happen to them. Well, I would never drive a Ford. You know, that's not going to happen to me. Well, I've always said never go swimming. It's not going to happen to me. Well, I've never stayed up past midnight. It's not going to happen to me. I've never gone to Kansas. I couldn't get caught in a tornado. I've never gone to Florida. No hurricane for me. I've never been to California. I'll never die in an earthquake. And everybody thinks about what happened to somebody else, and they think of that because they think couldn't happen to me. Well, I don't use NutraSweet or Splenda, and so it couldn't happen to me. Well, I don't take sugar with my coffee. I only use natural sweeteners like honey or maple syrup. Couldn't happen to me. Well, you know something, I'm not a diabetic. Well, you know, I'm not, and we always want to know what happened to somebody because we want to find out how it's not going to happen to us. And people play this game all the time because they think it's not. You know what Solomon said? He said, you can live perfect and die. And you can live like a fool and die. As a matter of fact, both do. Same thing happens. Here's Solomon politely saying everybody's going to die. You know, that's a little bit much to come to grips with for the first time. Your death is something that's a little much to come to grips with for the first time. My uncle got killed 2 months ago in an unfortunate accident, a four-wheeler, and my poor aunt. I remember my aunt coming to me when my sister was 38 and died of cancer. And my aunt said something to me. She said, too soon. She said, too soon. And you know what she said about my uncle dying? He was 67. She said, too soon. Too soon. It was too soon. It was too early. Too young. Not old enough. And you know something? That's just the truth, isn't it? That's the way we feel about it. Life goes too fast. It passes us by too swiftly. And we think, well, you know what? Young people don't die. I'm still young. We think, well, you know what? Most of the people that are going to die young, they have heart attacks before 50, and I'm 51. So I've made it. You know, I'll probably make it to the 70. Oh, I made it to 70. I'll probably make it to 90. I made it to 90. I'll probably make it to 100. You know what? Nobody makes it to 130. Because the foolish die and the wise die. And Solomon said, you know, this is vanity and vexation of spirit. When you think that success in life is to not die, everybody's going to die who's going to be successful. Happens to the foolish, happens to the wise. Look at verse 16. He said, for there is no remembrance of the wise more than of the fool forever. Seeing that which now is in the days to come shall all be forgotten. And how dieth the wise man? As the fool. And he said, therefore I hated life, because the work that is wrought under the sun is grievous unto me, for all is vanity and vexation of spirit. He realized when it comes to the end of my life, the accomplishments won't matter at that point. The accolades won't matter. The wisdom, and he said, you know, the worst part about it is that nobody's going to remember me. He tells a story about a wise man that saved a city and was forgotten about it later on. But here he continues on. He said, as a result of this, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me, and who knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool. You know, I work so hard, I accomplish and I build. You ever make something nice and have somebody come in and just destroy it? Try landscaping sometime in South Florida. Get your yard nice, and then have somebody else take care of it for a few weeks. It's amazing how even just gardening and keeping a nice garden, how it can just get overgrown and destroyed. Or how you can build and fix something mechanical and you can make it really nice, and then somebody can just tear it up. I remember my dad had a beautiful square body Chevy pickup when I was growing up, and it was the ugliest thing you ever saw when he got it. It was a farmer owned it, and literally every body panel on it was dented, or like literally gates had swung in and ripped gashes in it, gashed or dented. And it really wasn't that great of a truck, but piece by piece, my dad rebuilt that truck. And it had a V6 engine in it, and it had a straight 6 engine, and he put a 400 small block Chevy in it, and then he built a really nice transmission, and he put some nice looking wheels and tires on it, and welded all new metal in the cab, and welded new fenders, and did everything the right way. And then I had a guy that was really, really a good body man, painted that truck, and it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. And so it was the nicest looking truck in town, in my opinion. Really good looking pickup truck. And then my dad got bored with it and it sat in front of his shop for a while. And a guy that did snow plowing came and said, my truck's worn out. You want to sell me that truck? I remember a couple years later looking at my dad's beautiful truck after it had been a snow truck, a plow truck for a while, hauling salt and all that, and it was just trashed. You can build something beautiful and somebody will destroy it. And that's just the way life is. There's just nothing that's permanent. Anybody here ever seen a new house built? You know, you want to frustrate yourself? Become a flipper, like or sell your house to a flipper. And so go and rebuild your kitchen and your bathrooms in your house, and put high quality, high end, nice wood and granite or whatever in your kitchen. And you know what will happen? Somebody will buy your house and they'll rip all that out and put something particle board in there to replace it, or cheap floors, and it's just trash. And no matter what it is, somebody's going to come along and they're just going to destroy it. Solomon said, if you build something, you try to leave a legacy, and somebody comes along and you're forgotten and it's just destroyed. There's no such thing as a legacy, he's saying. In verse 20, therefore I went about to cause my heart to despair of all the labor which I took on us. He says, so I decided not to do anything. If I'm just going to build something for others to tear down, then don't build anything. And then he said, for there's a man whose labor is in wisdom and in knowledge and in equity. Yet to a man that hath not labored therein shall he leave it for his portion. This also is a vanity and a great evil. He said, I decided to become an intellectual. Instead of building gardens and music and building an empire and forests and there's all these things, he said, I decided to become an intellectual. And so I started understanding and philosophizing. And then I realized that knowledge also dies with the person that has it. You know, my friend, so much has been lost when the libraries have been burned. But more than that, so much is lost because libraries are full of books that are never read. And you can know all kinds of things, but what are you going to do with your knowledge because nobody wants it? Nobody values it. Solomon understood all kinds of things, and who's he going to tell? Who's he going to tell? Who cares? Who cares? Literally, more people want to hear a story about some kind of drama than about some technical, important knowledge that keeps the earth spinning. And then he said in verse 22, for what hath a man of all his labor and of the vexation of his heart wherein he hath labored under the sun? For all his days are sorrows, and his travail grief. Yea, his heart taketh not rest in the night. This is also vanity. Then he said in verse 24, this is a change in venue, or change in attitude. There's nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good labor. This also I saw that it was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I? For God giveth to a man that is good in his sight wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner he giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. Let me stop and let me just advise you of something. Sometime for your benefit, get up and watch a sunrise. Now, one of the things about a sunrise is if you miss it tomorrow, it'll happen again the next day. And if you miss the sunrise, you can watch the sunset. And if you missed that one, you could watch it later because it just keeps happening. We saw that cycle, right, last week. But sometime get up and enjoy the sunrise. Just get up and watch it. And look at the colors in it and the uniqueness of it, realizing that this particular sunrise can never be seen again if I don't see it. Watch a sunset sometime and just realize while you're watching it, this sunset in this place by me can never be seen again. And stop and enjoy it. Just stop and say, thank God for the sun coming up and going down in the inherent natural beauty in it. And thank God that there are times and places in life that I can just appreciate that God put me here and that He gave me this minute, and for this moment, let me enjoy it. Solomon said, you know, all this labor, all these things I accomplished didn't keep me from the inevitable, which means that I'm going to die. An accomplished person dies, an unaccomplished person dies. But he said, you know, God has made labor a good thing for man to enjoy. God has made the work of the hand something that is worthwhile to do. There's nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. You say, isn't there more to it than this? And the answer is, in this life, no, there isn't. The truth is, in this life, there's nothing more than the labor. Now, I didn't say in the eternity to come. But in this life, understand and know that the accomplishment itself is worthy for itself. It's worth it for itself. And go ahead and enjoy it. You know, there's a part of me that's glad that being full doesn't mean I'll never be hungry again. I got full today. I usually do on Wednesdays. Most Wednesdays, you folks don't know this, but we have a staff meeting, which is an excuse to go to the Prairie House and eat food that Maria cooks. Maria is probably one of the preeminent cooks in the world. Anyone that knows would know that that's so. And you know what? I was full this afternoon, but I won't be tomorrow. And you know what? I'm glad for that. It's good to eat and enjoy eating. And when you do it, it's not, well, this is the last time I'll ever need to do this. I did that before. There's many times I'll eat somewhere and I'll say, I never want to eat that again. I never want to do that again. But I've modified it. You know, if I eat at a Chinese buffet anymore, it's about once every couple years. But every couple of years, I just get this hankering. I just say, you know what, I'd like some Siamese or some calico, and I want to go and get me some. And so I go to the Chinese buffet, and I mean, I eat until, and when I leave, here's what I say. I don't want to do that again for a couple of years. Anybody ever been to Cece's Pizza Buffet? You ever been to Cece's? About every 5 years, something will happen that'll make it seem like a good idea to go to Cece's. And I'll go there, and I'll go there with teenagers, and we'll have a competition, which I will win. And when I leave there, I'll say, I don't want to do that again for 5 years. Robbie's like, I never want to do that ever. That's the way I feel right now, but 5 years from now, something will hit. I just got enough life experience. And you know something? Those things for the time God has made so that you can enjoy. And here's what Solomon is saying. If you're living for these things to be the ultimate accomplishment in life, you're going to be really frustrated because they're vanity and vexation of the spirit. But go ahead and live life and enjoy it on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis. Because God's made it that way. Whereas I didn't do anything today that is going to, change the balance of whether my life is a success or a failure. Sometimes we have those big days, those major opportunities, major choices, major decisions. And sometimes in a very short amount of time, everything can just be shifted and changed and upended. Most days are just get up, go to work, watch the sun come up, watch the sun go down. And what I say to you is drink a cup of coffee and enjoy it if you like coffee. Learn to just have a moment and say, this is a good moment. And life is good. And God is good. Because I'm not trying to live forever. I'm not trying not to die. I'm not trying to accomplish everything in a day. And if I did, there'd be nothing left. It'd be over. Just trying to live the life that God's given me. And Solomon said, you've got to have this understanding. I don't live for coffee. And it makes a great t-shirt, but it makes a stupid person, right? I live for coffee. There's a lot of coffee t-shirts nowadays. When tea comes in, maybe I'll get one. Solomon said, God giveth to a man that is good in his sight, wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner he giveth travail together and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. And he said, this also is vanity and vexation of spirit. God, I pray that you would help us to understand these truths as we work our way to the ultimate truth that we need to remember our Creator in the days of our youth. And we need to live for you. And I pray that you would help us to understand that the things in life which are simple, the things that are in life that are big in the moment but mean nothing later, are a moment that we can just appreciate the life that